A lot of students ask me about graduate schools, so I figure I will make a video talking about this. Searching for a graduate program in psychology specifically. Based on my experience, a lot of students they are thinking about graduate schools, but they don't necessarily know what it takes. Of course, we all know to be able to get into a graduate school, a graduate program, you must be a hardworking student with good grades. But that's not the only things you need to do. There are more. I would like to first talk about three of the criteria. First, your GPA, your GRE scores, and the recommendation letters. Now, in case you are not sure what GRE is, just like SAT or ACT are standardized tests for college application, GRE is a standardized test for graduate school application. It's required about a lot of graduate programs. GPA and GRE. Now, different from GRE, which definitely can be improved over time. GPA in the first year or two is critical because if you mess up in the beginning, it's getting harder and harder to come back up. However, many programs also see your major and last 2 years GPAs. So I would want to say your major GPA is quite important. Suppose that you get a lower GPA in the first couple years. I think you can argue, you can explain to the programs you're applying, say, well, in the beginning I'm still adjusting, but I am getting a hang of it, and I work really hard, especially on my major. For better programs, actually, I would say for most of the programs, to be eligible to apply, you need to have at least a 3.0 GPA. However, if you want to get accepted, you probably want to have at least a 3.5. Now talk about GRE. GRE is important, of course, because it's a more so-called objective measure. If you are in easy school, let's just say, people will think, of course, you got a higher GPA because it's an easy school. If your GRE is good, I think you are more likely to get in. You must have experience preparing SAT or ACT, and you know this is not the kind of test that you can win it 3 months before taking the actual test. You need to start early to prepare, okay? And especially in development U, students usually get low scores. Probably you are not familiar with the process, not familiar with those questions. Not necessarily you are not a good student. You need to start early, but in your first year, try to get a book. There are tons of books for practicing your GRE. Check out from the library, and every day just take a look, maybe just one question, just one page, and do the practice. You want to get at least 30 to 40 percentile, especially the quantitative section. Now, what does it mean, the percentile? Suppose you are at 40 percentile, that means assuming 100 people take the test, you are better than 39 people. Next, recommendation letters. Some resources suggest that this is the most critical factors. Of course, it varies from school to school. Working on a good recommendation letter is a long process. It's not just you go up to a professor and say, hey, please write me a letter. Some people don't even do that. It starts from the first day you step into a classroom. You want to show your professors you are a persistently hardworking and reliable student, and you are respectful, and you are willing to receive constructive criticism. I have some students, they work hard, they get good grades in the exams, but they cannot receive any criticism. And that is not a good sign. They are not teachable, and that will not give you a good recommendation letter. Now, besides this GPA, GRE, and recommendation letters, I also want to encourage you to decide the specific subfield or discipline in psychology as early as possible. Psychology as a field is really really broad. So which subfield or disciplines appeals to you the most? Now, in order to find out if you are a first year student or sophomore, I would encourage you to take as many psychology classes as possible. So, for example, developmental, abnormal, social, personality, biopsychology, and the list goes on. Now, developmental is about children and adolescents, developmental milestones, how they go through different stages. Abnormal is mainly focused on mental disorders, and this is related to clinical and counseling. Biopsychology studies human brain. Alright. Now, if you are in the junior or your senior years, you're supposed to have taken them as quite a few courses already. You want to ask yourself which class or classes is or are most appealing to you, right? It's time to decide which discipline or which subfield you want to go. You probably want to ask, why do I need to decide about this discipline so early? Deciding early has at least one advantage. One thing nearly all students, especially in WMU, are lacking. If you want to go into graduate schools, especially schools like UNM or NMSU, if you want to have a chance in this kind of school, and that is research experience. For some reason, I still don't know, many students, they'll give up on applying for graduate schools or any hope in psychology. Once I mention the word research, it's kind of like a taboo. I guess some students probably have research phobia, or they think it's related to statistics, and they have math or stats phobia. Maybe they are not confident, they are lazy, they think that's too much trouble. But you know what? Research can be fun. I realize here in WMU we are a teaching institution, so we don't have as many resources in terms of doing research. But we can adjust, we can make the best out of it.